Hi everyone, a very good morning to all of you. Today is 13th of March and I welcome you all to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. Guys, in this particular video, we are going to discuss entire analysis of Hindu newspaper. Also, I would like to tell you that the synoptic notes of articles that we will discuss here are also available on our Telegram channel. Link for Telegram is given in the description box in YouTube. You can visit our Telegram and can download the synoptic notes of the session. Let's get started with the discussion. Now guys, first of all, let's take a brief overview of important articles in the today's Hindu newspaper, and we insist you to buy a copy of Hindu newspaper at your own for a good analysis. Now, first of all, on front page, we have this particular article. Here we can see that Nayab Singh Saini has become new chief minister in Haryana because Mr. Manohar Lal Khattar, who was earlier chief minister, has resigned. Now guys, for the sake of examination, there is no substance given in this particular article. I will not advise you to waste your time on this. Then moving on, inflation remains at 5.1% in February, but food prices go up. So basically guys, understand this particular thing, that what has happened, retail inflation is pegged at 5.09%. Now when we talk about inflation in the context of India, we aim to keep inflation in the range of in the range of in the range of 4 to 6%. Okay, now 6% is the upper band. 6% is the upper band in which the inflation should be there. So in this particular capacity, inflation has been in a good range. Now guys, basically when we talk about the inflations measured by the consumer food price index was around 9% in January. Okay, it was a 9% in January, and particularly for urban residents it was 9.2%. However, now inflation is cooling up. Moving on, after that we have these advertisements here, nothing important. Then guys, moving on, in the next city section also we largely have these advertisements, etc. Much important things are not there. Okay, so guys, skipping this particular section, directly we will be reaching to the editorial page, because till editorial much important things are not there. Now in editorial section, first article that we have, intra group caste variances, equality and courts gaze. Now this particular article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 2, social justice. This particular article will see with respect to sub-categorization of scheduled caste. Okay, so we'll take this particular article. A tale of two, BJP Congress have taken contrasting approach to building alliances. Again, a political article, no need to go too much in detail in this particular article. Then further, moving on guys, after that, below we have this article, a new sense of urbanization that is dominating. We'll see this particular article also for examination. Khelo India, perfect present, bright future. We'll see this particular article also for examination. BJP's near complete domination. Again, political article, not that much important. Number of poor people increase in sub-Saharan African countries. We will see this particular article also for examination. Then further moving on, next page, how is nuclear waste generated? This article also we are going to see with respect to examination. So a lot of these articles are there, and these articles are particularly relevant for mains examination, and we'll discuss that in which paper, which section they will be important. Then further moving on, Malayali diaspora's relief effort during Kerala floods. Okay, fine. Then further moving on. After that, UP court gives life sentence to 10 in Hapud lynching case. Largely articles are pertaining to law and order related things. SBI submits data on electoral bond to election commission. So Supreme Court of India recently invalidated the electoral bond scheme and has asked State Bank of India to give the data with respect to people who have made the donation. And in this capacity, in this particular capacity, Supreme Court SBI has submitted the data to election commission. Then moving on, after that, moving on guys, in this particular capacity, here we have one important article, panel recommends law to regulate big tech firms. We'll take this particular article. Then further moving on, next page we have some important articles here. Okay, India was the top arms importer in 2019-23. This is with respect to SIPRI report. We'll see this particular article. Government issues marketing code for pharmaceutical firms. This article also we'll see with respect to examination. Tejas aircraft crashes in Jaisalmer. So since 2001, when the Tejas light combat aircrafts started operating, one of an aircraft has crashed in Jaisalmer, Rajasthan. However, the reason for crash has not been ascertained till now. Moving on, after that in world page, Indian troops begins Maldives withdrawal after government order. So we know this, we have seen this particular thing in past also, that Indian troops, they were present in Maldives, they were helping trends, etc. is given, and then we have the sports section. So this is guys the overview of newspaper, and now let's discuss all the relevant articles one by one in detail. So let's get started. As I have told you that you can download the synoptic notes from our Telegram channel. So here we have these synoptic notes. So let's get started. Just a minute. Okay, so starting. Every class we start with a GS quotation. Now this particular quotation can be used to complement our answers in GS or in essay papers. So today we are going to take quotation from Savitri Bai Phule. Savitri Bai Phule says, "A woman without education is like a banyan tree without roots or leaves." Now, guys, when we talk about a banyan tree, so what roots and what leaves provide the tree? Leaves and roots provides nourishment to the tree. Now, when we talk about women, women without education is like a tree without roots or leaves. A woman without education will not be empowered, will often not be empowered. A woman without education will not be able to seek employment. And when she is not empowered, when she is not able to seek employment, she cannot provide for her family. She cannot contribute in education of her children. It is often said that if you educate a woman, if you educate a woman, you educate an entire family. So women's education is very important. She becomes the provider for the family. She becomes the sustainer of the family. She educates the family. She socializes the children, next generation. But when we talk about a woman without education, she is not able to perform these roles. So therefore, she is like a tree without roots, without leaves. Fine. You can use this particular idea in context of GS paper number 1 as well as GS paper number 2, social issues and social justice. Okay. Also in essay, many essays on the theme of women, they come. So you can use this particular idea there. Moving on, and let's take first article for today. Intergroup caste variances, equality and courts gaze. Now this particular article that we are going to see this with respect to GS paper number 2, social justice, social justice. Within social justice, issues related to reservation and affirmative action. Issues related to reservation and affirmative action. We are going to see this particular article. Fine. Now, before going in this particular article, let's understand certain basic background information, and then we'll be going in the detail of this particular article. Okay. So basically guys, when we talk about the Constitution of India, Constitution of India makes provision, Constitution of India makes provision for equity, equity. Now understand this particular thing guys, that when we talk about equality, when we talk about equality, equality is to treat everyone in an equal way. Equality is to treat everyone in an equal way. But often this particular equality might lead to a lot of problems. For example, if every person has to run from a common start line, it might not take in account the disadvantages that certain sections have. So we don't need equality, we need equity. Seeing the different circumstances, everybody is to be provided the fair opportunity. Now, when we talk about scheduled caste people, when we talk about scheduled tribes, when we talk about the OBC, these peoples historically they have been disadvantaged. So therefore, they cannot be treated on par with the general category people. They cannot be treated on par. They have to be given some extra head start. So therefore, there comes the concept of reservation. There comes the concept of reservation or affirmative action. Now guys, when we talk about reservation, reservation is not the violation of equality. Fine. Constitution Article 15 as well as Article 16 itself provides for the scope of making special provision for the advancement of certain backward sections of society. So reservation is acceptable within the domain of Article 15 and Article 16. We are giving right now, we are giving 15% reservation to scheduled caste, 7.5% reservation to scheduled tribe. We gave 27% reservation to OBC. In total, 49.5% reservation is given on social factors. Plus, 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act introduced 10% additional reservation for EWS economically weaker section. But this reservation is largely given on economic ground. So on social ground, this is the reservation that we are giving. Now, guys, when we talk about OBCs, other backward classes, there is a provision of creamy layer and non-creamy layer, within the OBC, where non-creamy layer are not provided the reservation benefit. Okay, but when we talk about scheduled caste, when we talk about scheduled tribe, there is no segmentation that is done within the scheduled caste, within the scheduled tribe. No segmentation has been done now. And from a very long period of time, these particular demands have been made. Let's see this particular thing. Let me give you some example. When we talk about ST community, scheduled tribe community, okay, there is a case study of Meena tribe. Which largely resides in Rajasthan. Meena tribes, they are one of the most advanced tribe in India in terms of their educational achievement and everything. And we find this particular thing that a lot of benefits of the ST reservation have been taken by Meena tribes. Similarly, there are many tribes within the STs who are taking the majority of share of reservation. Same way, within scheduled caste, there are so many castes. Some caste has become more advanced and they are taking more advantage of the SC reservation. Same goes in the OBC. So sub-categorization within the SC, ST, OBC have been demanded. Now, this particular article talks about sub-categorization within the scheduled caste reservation. So I told you that 15% reservation is given to scheduled caste. So the concept is this, that within this 15%, what we need to do? We need to sub-categorize it. For example, let's say X caste, Y caste, Z caste. These are the caste within the SC community. So let's say out of this 15%, 5% is kept for X, 2% is kept for Y, 3% is kept for Z, in likewise. So there is this particular case that has been made. Now guys, when we talk about, just a minute. Now, when we talk about the when we talk about the provisions with respect to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe reservation, they are provided in Article 341 as well as Article 342. Let me show you the provisions also. Okay, so just a minute. Yes, so here we can see we have Article 341. Now Article 341 deals with the provisions with respect to the scheduled caste. Let's read what the provisions are saying. So basically what it reads that the president, it reads that president, with respect to any state or with respect to any union territory, and where it is a state, in consultation with the governor, will specify the caste, race or tribes, fine, or groups within the caste, fine. What it provides that president will specify who will be the scheduled caste, and parliament by law can include or can exclude from the list of scheduled caste. Okay, so who will notify a scheduled caste? President. Who has the power to amend the list of the SCs? It is the parliament. So two entities, president and parliament, are the one who can define the scheduled caste, can amend the list of the scheduled caste in India. So parliament and president has been given power. Which article says? Article 341 says. Okay, so keep this particular thing in mind. Why? Because it is going to be important for the article that we are discussing. Now, basically this article, actually it is talking about one of a judgment which will be delivered in the days to come, that is State of Punjab versus Devinder Singh case. Now, what is this particular case all about? So basically guys, what has happened in the past, Punjab government actually 1975, Punjab government issued a circular, within this circular what they did, they subcategorized the scheduled caste quota, now for the sake of examination, you are actually not needed to go too much in the examination, but again I will show you what actually happened. So this circular was issued and they said that out of the total seats reserved for the SCs, whatever the total seats are there for the SCs, out of that 50% would be offered to Balmikis and Mazhabi Sikhs. Okay, out of the total SC seats, let's say there are the 100 SC quota seats that are there, out of 150 will be given specifically to Balmikis and Mazhabi Sikhs. Okay, so what they did, they actually subcategorized the SC quota, certain seats they specifically reserved for certain specific sections. This is something they did. Now this particular law, this particular amendment of the Punjab, it was challenged. Okay, this particular amendment was challenged. And actually what happened, Punjab and Haryana High Court in the past, it said that you cannot do this. Why you cannot do this? Because state government does not have the power to tinker. State government does not have the power to do any change with respect to the SC list. Either president has the power or the parliament has the power. Why they are saying it? Because already I have shown you Article 341. In Article 341, power is given only to the parliament as well as the president. No power is there with the state government. So Punjab government's this 1975 circular has been challenged. Okay, now guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about Punjab and Haryana High Court, okay, why they said this particular thing? There is also one more judgment. Now see this particular thing. There is this Chinaiya case. Now what is this Chinaiya case? So Chinaiya case was a judgment by the Supreme Court. Now understand this thing. Andhra Pradesh has also done similar thing in the past. So basically what happened? Andhra Pradesh, they came out with the Andhra Pradesh Scheduled Caste Rationalization of Reservation Act 2000. Now this act they came. In this particular act what they did, they also subcategorized the SC quota. Subcategorized the SC quota. Now what happened in this particular judgment? Supreme Court said this particular thing, that only president, okay, it said that under Article 341, President of India can notify a list of SCs for each state. If any modification is to be done, that can be done by the parliament. It was said that Andhra Pradesh, by subcategorizing the SC, what you have done? You have violated the Article 341. So in Chinaiya case, Andhra Pradesh was not allowed to do that. On that particular basis, it was said that Punjab cannot do the same thing. Okay, so Punjab and Haryana High Court said that you cannot go forward. But now Supreme Court is saying that we need to again reconsider this particular fact. We need to again rethink this particular fact. Now, why Supreme Court is saying that we need to rethink this particular fact? Now, Supreme Court says that actually, when we go back, we have given, we see the Indra Sahni case. Now, Indra Sahni case was Indra Sahni judgment was delivered in 1992. Now, what this particular case was? In this particular case, the basically OBC reservation was upheld. Now in this particular case, what happened? The classification within the OBC was justified. So taking a hint from Indra Sahni case, it is said that why then classification within the SC cannot be justified. So Supreme Court has said that okay, we are again going to reconsider this particular question, that within the SC, can subcategorization is valid or not, or if it is valid, can state government do that or not? So this question is opened again, and in the state of Punjab versus Devinder Singh case, final judgment will be given. So again, I will highlight here, in this particular case, Supreme Court is set to rule on a significant legal question regarding the affirmative action, and reservation. Can state government subclassify within the quotas prescribed for SC and ST in public employment? Okay, so this particular judgment will be given. Now, article says this particular thing, that when we talk about the idea of social justice in the context of India, India always focuses on equity. India focuses always on ensuring that a substantive equality is given. and for that capacity we should accept such kind of subcategorization. It has been said that now the time has come that Supreme Court should recognize the state's authority to make reservation within SC and ST quotas. Now states, they have a better understanding with respect to the caste dynamics within a state, so they should be allowed to do this particular thing, and therefore states power should be recognized. This is in fact the constitutional vision that we had. Okay, so this is something that has been given in this entire article. Beyond this, guys, nothing is to be seen for the sake of examination. Okay, and all these notes that we have discussed here, I have provided you here. You can download these particular notes from the Telegram channel. Now, moving on in the next article. A sense of urbanization that is dominating. A sense of urbanization that is dominating. Now, this particular article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 1, issues related to urbanization. GS paper number 1, issues related to urbanization. Okay, one more thing, guys, that on the article that we have discussed, I have also given a mains question here. You can practice if you want. So question on this article is, examine constitutional and social implication of allowing state governments to make sub-classification within scheduled caste and scheduled tribe for public employment quotas. How does this reflect on India's commitment to equality and social justice? So this is the main question on this article. If you want, you can practice it. Now, moving on to next article. A new sense of urbanization that is dominating. Now, if you see in recent past, there are certain developments that have happened. What developments have happened? First of all, new parliament building was inaugurated, which is a part of a central vista redevelopment plan. And also Ram temple was inaugurated. Now both of these buildings were inaugurated by Prime Minister. Now, article is saying this particular thing, that what type of message of urban development government is giving by inaugurating these infrastructures. Now you see this particular thing, that whether urban development is going to prioritize religious values, or whether development infrastructure it is going to focus on industrial and modernist values. Now if you see Jawaharlal Nehru, what Jawaharlal Nehru did, he called the public infrastructure PSUs as the temples of modern India. Fine. He always said that infrastructure should be driven by modernist values. Infrastructure should be driven with keeping industry in mind. So industrial development, okay, was given more importance in the infrastructure development. But now government is prioritizing the nationalism, religion. Let's see the example. So guys, if you see what has happened, Ram Mandir that has been inaugurated, it is giving a hint towards the development that is focused on religious values. Now, what has happened recently, it has been estimated that around 85,000 crore rupees, 85,000 crore rupees will be invested in Ayodhya's infrastructure. Fine, in the Ayodhya's infrastructure. It signals. Fine, what it does, it signals a shift towards developing cities around religious identities rather than economic and social needs. Now, it has been said that when we talk about colonial focus, colonial focus was on infrastructure. What happened during the colonial times? Port cities were developed, and these port cities were focused on industrialization. Of also what happened after independence, even Jawaharlal Nehru, what he did, fine, he also focused on developing the cities that were meant to support jobs, culture, modern living standards, and even the many of the modern architects that have contributed in designing the modern cities in India, such as Lee Corbusier, Habib Rahman. What they have done, they have used the modernist design in Indian cities. What happened? Every city, it had a dedicated space for sports center, dedicated space for cinema, dedicated space for recreation, social living, etc. These were the hallmarks of the infrastructure, modern infrastructure development. But now what is happening? We are prioritizing the religious infrastructure development. So this is something that is there. Now article says this particular thing, that the focus on developing Ayodhya with so much of investment, 85,000 crore rupees are being invested. It is needed to be seen that whether such thing is right or not. We are investing so much money in one city, but what about the developing other regional centers of growth? We need to have a coherent policy for development. The article says that we need to have a uniform plan for urban development across India. Not only a one city or a few cities should be priorities across India. We need to have a coherent policy of urban development. Now, if we see the projects such as Central Vista is announced, Sardar Patel statue has been announced, high speed bullet train project has been announced. Now, all these particular things are focusing on igniting the nationalistic appeal in the infrastructure development. So this is something that has happened. Now, article says this particular thing that we need to invest a lot in urban infrastructure development. According to World Bank, according to World Bank report, it is said that India need to invest $840 billion in urban infrastructure over the next 15 years. And this $840 billion needs to be evenly distributed across India, and infrastructure not only on religious value but infrastructure on social aspects should also be focused. So this is something that has been provided. Now, article says that in infrastructure development, we need to focus on decentralization, democratization, and fostering a dynamic coexistence among citizens. Cities should be developed such that people from all the religion, people from all the faith, people from all the caste should be given the accommodative spaces there. Okay, this is about this particular article. Now, here we have the main question based on this particular article. So question is this: discuss the implication of prioritizing religious identity in urban development over traditional industrial and modernization efforts in India. How does this shift impact the socio-economic fabric of the nation? And what strategies should be adopted to balance cultural heritage with modern urban needs? Okay, so you can practice this particular question for the sake of your examination. Now, moving on in the next article. Now, guys, if you see in mains examination, these kind of questions are being asked. Okay, so for the sake of your practice, you can write these questions. Khelo India, perfect present, bright future. Now, this particular article is written by Mr. Anurag Singh Thakur, who is a Union Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports and Information and Broadcasting. Now, this particular article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 2 and GS paper number 3. Fine. Youth affairs. Youth affairs. Issues related to sports. Now, so what has happened recently? Khelo India games were organized. Khelo India games were organized. Now, when we talk about Khelo India, what is Khelo India? Khelo India is a government initiative which aims to promote the sporting activities in India. It aims to promote the sporting activities in India. Now, when we talk about India, we have a young demography. Average age of India is right now 28 years. So, because of this exceptionally young demography, we need to keep them fit. We need to keep them healthy. And sports can be an excellent way of keeping people fit and healthy. So, Khelo India has been started. Khelo India has been started. Now, this year, basically the recent edition of Khelo India, it has focused on a lot of things, and achievements of Khelo India are mentioned in this particular article. Let's discuss them one by one. First of all, first of all, when we talk about Khelo India, when we talk about the Khelo India, so first time Khelo India's edition has been held in southern part of the country. So Tamil Nadu has participated and has played an important part in Khelo India. And as a part of this multi-city approach, what they have done across different cities, they have organized Khelo India sports events. Also, what has happened? University games have been organized in Northeast. And in that, across the 7 states of Northeast have participated in university games under Khelo India. And Assam has hosted 16 different sports. So, southern part, northeastern part, there also Khelo India has been extended. This is a good achievement. Second is traditional sports have also been emphasized in Khelo India. And in traditional sports, fine, Yogasan, Gatka, Malkham, Silambam, Kalaripattu, all these sports have been emphasized, which shows that how India is not forgetting its traditional heritage. Then also what has happened? athletes who have participated in Khelo India, their career opportunities are also being provided to them. So what government has done? Government has committed to provide jobs to Khelo India medal winners so that they can sustain meaningfully. Fine. Then also what has happened? Infrastructure development has also been focused. So government has announced that 300 sports infrastructure projects, 300 sports infrastructure projects have been announced. Okay, 3,000 crore rupees across 34 states and UTs will be invested. 3,000 crore rupees will be invested. 2,800 athletes fine in 21 sports discipline have been selected as Khelo India athletes, and they will further be nurtured so that they can be propelled in the games at international level, such as Asian Games, such as Commonwealth Games, such as Olympic Games. So these 2,800 athletes that have been identified, they will further be nurtured. Then also what has happened? Also focus on women in sports have been given. So there was around 50 to 50 ratio of male to female athletes in Khelo India. Okay, so this also shows that how in equity terms also Khelo India is further moving. However, there are certain needs, certain things which we need to focus upon, certain way forwards are there. Number one, we need to sustain this particular momentum. In past, sporting has been largely ignored. But now, as we have started giving the importance to sporting events through Khelo India, this momentum is to be maintained, and indigenous sports that are now being focused, that particular focus should continue. The next is enhance support system. So basically infrastructure, financial support is to be given to athletes so that they can choose sports as a career option. Then strengthening infrastructure. So infrastructure, stadiums, etc., they are also needed to be supported. And finally, women are to be promoted in the sports. And in this capacity, Asmita Khelo India Women League has been started, which specifically be giving focusing on the women's participation in sports. So all these particular things have to be there. And then continuous monitoring and evaluation is very much important. Now we need to learn from success, also we need to learn from our mistakes. So things that have worked need to be continued, things which are not working effectively, they need to be disbanded, they need to be reconsidered. So therefore a continuous evaluation also should be there. So these are important valuable lessons that we need to follow. Okay, now mains question on this particular kind of article could be something like this: analyze the impact of Khelo India initiative on India's sports culture and infrastructure. Okay, discuss how such government programs can be leveraged to promote inclusive growth and gender parity in sports, contributing to broader objectives of nation building and global representation. Okay, so this can be a mains question on this slide. So that is about it. And now let's discuss the another article. How is nuclear waste generated? Now, this particular article is from text and context section. How is nuclear waste generated? So, this article is from text and context section. Okay. GS paper number 3. GS paper number 3, Science and Technology. Science and Technology. Now, before going in this particular article, certain basic information you need to understand, not given in this particular article, but we need to know this. So, but what has happened, guys, when we talk about India, you see this particular thing. India actually has a three-stage nuclear program. India has a three-stage nuclear program. Now, when we talk about the phase one of nuclear program, first of all, guys, when we talk about nuclear energy is counted as a clean source of energy, But around, right now, less than 3% of India's electricity is coming through the nuclear sources. Why? Because upfront cost in deploying a nuclear reactor is very high. Secondly, it needs a lot of technologies. Fine, although in that capacity India has worked well. But the biggest deterrent in developing nuclear technology or nuclear energy is disposal of radioactive waste. Disposal of the radioactive waste. Now, India has a three-stage nuclear energy program. Number one, in stage one, we are going to develop pressurized heavy water reactors. Pressurized heavy water reactors that are going to use a natural uranium. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about uranium, around 99.7% uranium that is found, it is having the isotope 235 called as isotope 238 called as uranium 238. Okay, isotope 238. But when we talk about one of another isotope of uranium, that is U238, U238, U U235. So U235 is highly fissile. Okay, it is highly fissile. U235 can readily be used in energy. U235 can be used in weapons. So U235 is highly fissile, but it is just 0.3% that is found in nature. Majority of uranium that is found, it is having isotope U238, 99.7%. So first stage of nuclear programs will be based on pressurized heavy water reactors that will use the natural uranium. Little bit of a very small percentage of U235 will also be used, but majorly they will rely on U238, and they use heavy water deuterium oxide as a moderator and coolant. Okay, then stage 2 is fast breeder reactors. Now fast breeder reactors, what they do, they actually use plutonium 239 as well as they use plutonium 239 as well as uranium, both. They use plutonium 239 as well as uranium. So basically understand this thing, they are called as the fast breeder. What actually happens, uranium 239, sorry, uranium 238, when they consume uranium 238, further it disintegrates and its leftover can be used as can be further used as the fuel. So basically what happens, uranium 238 or uranium, when once it will be used, okay, its wastage can be further be reused, okay, as plutonium 239. Then there is the third stage, that is the thorium based reactors. So India's monazite sands, find they contain a lot of traces of thorium. So thorium is right now not feasible, but in the long run, we are focusing that how thorium can be used as a fuel in nuclear reactor. So this is the stage 3. Right now, we are moving from stage 1 to stage 2. Okay. And what has happened recently, India has loaded the core of fast breeder reactor. Okay. Now, basically, whenever the nuclear energy is discussed, always the concerns will come with respect to radioactive waste that will be developed. Now, so basically, first of all, what is nuclear waste? What is nuclear waste? Let's understand this thing. Now, basically, guys, when we talk about the nuclear reactors, so basically what happens, so atoms of uranium, they will be bombarded with the neutrons. They will be bombarded with neutrons. When the neutrons will clash in uraniums, this collision will lead to the splitting of uranium atoms. And as they will split, fission will happen. As they will split, fission will happen. And because of this particular fission, a lot of energy will be deployed, a lot of heat will be released. This particular energy will be utilized to develop electricity. This particular energy will be utilized to develop electricity. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that as this fission is happening, so in this particular fission, there will be a time when certain elements cannot split further. They cannot split further. And when they cannot split further, what happens? They become a nuclear waste. For example, when uranium 235 split in barium 144 and krypton 89, they cannot further split after this particular point, and this becomes the nuclear waste. This becomes a nuclear waste. So basically, the elements which cannot carry forward the fission, then it becomes a nuclear waste, and then this particular nuclear waste is to be managed. Now, this nuclear waste is highly dangerous. Why? Because number one, it is highly radioactive. It releases harmful radiation. Now, there are certain strategies to handle this particular nuclear waste. Number one, short-term storage. So, what can be done for 10 to 30 years, this particular nuclear waste, it can be stored under water to cool down, and over a period of time, its radioactivity can be decreased. However, after that, it needs to be stored for a long term period, and in that, from water it is moved to dry storage in special containers underground. It is to be stored where it can rest for so many decades, for 50, 70, 80 years it can rest there. But always there is the chance of leakage of this particular content. Okay, and because of that it always becomes a health concern. Then what actually happens in some of the nuclear plants, liquid waste is also released. Now this liquid waste is often treated and it is released into the nearby water bodies. Okay, now this also often raises the concerns of the environment, health of the public. Now sometimes what can be done, this nuclear waste can be reprocessed. Now guys, understand this particular thing guys, that when we use uranium, when we basically what happens, sometimes a spent fuel, it can be reused. For example, as a plutonium, spent fuel can be reused. So this is one process. When we talk about guys the India's approach, understand this particular thing, that using uranium, using nuclear energy, it is good for the environment because we are not burning the coal anyhow. But point is that disposal of this radioactive waste has always been a problem for India. Number one, for public health, and number two, for the cost. Now these storing of this nuclear waste, it leads to a lot of cost. It leads to a lot of cost. So therefore it always happens to be the problem for India. Now India is using the combination of reprocessing, using the combination of long term storage, short term storage. Okay, so this is guys all about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it. Guys, just give me 1 minute. You need to hold for a minute. Okay, guys, there was some problem that came, technical issue that came, so I have to pause. Apologies for that. I hope that the voice is clear now. Okay, so this is the approach of India with respect to the nuclear wastage. Now, moving on, and let's discuss the next article. Panel recommends law to regulate big tech firms. Panel recommends law to regulate big tech firms. This particular article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 3. GS paper number 3, issues related to technology. Issues related to technology and regulation of big tech. So basically, what has happened? First of all, some background information, and then we'll go in the details of this particular article. So, Committee on Digital Competition Law, Committee on Digital Competition Law was framed by the Corporate Affairs Ministry. Now, see this particular thing, that big tech companies such as Google, Meta, they have lot of clout. They hold a lot of power in terms of influencing the people's opinion. They hold political power. If you know, there was a Cambridge Analytica incident that happened in 2016 where it was said that Facebook has been used to create psychological profiles of people, and by that voter behavior has been influenced. So basically we find this particular thing that that these particular big tech platforms, they have developed so much of power, even they have a lot of economic power today. When we talk about the valuation of Google, it happens to be more than the GDP of a lot of countries combined. Okay, so tomorrow it can happen that they can use this particular influence in a negative way. They can try to eliminate competition, so therefore we need to control them. Now understand this thing, we have a Competition Act of 2002, which aims to ensure that no company becomes a monopoly. No company becomes a monopoly. But this Competition Act of 2002, when it was brought, at that point of a time, how big these big tech companies will become, it was not seen. It was not seen. So therefore, now we need to come out with new regulations to ensure that these big tech. So see, today if you see Google, it is a kind of a monopoly, but we don't have laws to deal with it. Google Play Store, recently some of the apps was delisted. So it is a kind of a monopolistic behavior that is being shown by them, but we don't have much of the ways to deal with these particular kind of things. So it has been said that these big tech firms, because of their network effects, fine, because of their indispensability, tomorrow they can become monopoly. So therefore, we need to have a new law, that is the Digital Competition Act, which will aim to regulate the large digital enterprises such as Google. So digital enterprises which have significant presence or which are offering the core digital services are to be regulated with more. They are to be regulated with more strong laws. So such new Digital Competition Act has been suggested. It is right now just a suggestion. Fine, what will be the design of it, what will be the detailed provisions, that has not come. Okay, now moving to next article. India was the top arms importer in 2019-23. So this article can be important for prelims examination. Okay, such facts are can be used. So basically, what has happened? So Swedish think tank SIPRI, that is Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, has released the report on the arms imports, and it says that India was the top arm importer in the world between 2019 to 23. India was a top arm importer in these four periods, that is 2019 to 23. Now, India's arm imports have gone up by 4.7% in this period compared to the previous 4-year period, that is 2014-18. So compared to 2014-18, 1923, our arm imports have gone up by 4.7%. And a bigger change that has come is that European countries, sorry, are importing even more weapons. So European countries, their imports have increased by 94% uh, between 2019-23 compared to 2014-18. Why? Because of Ukraine war. Because of Ukraine war. And who is getting the majority of advantage of it? USA. USA has become the biggest importer to Europe. Now, when we talk about Russia, Russia is India's biggest arms supplier. 36% of arms that India is importing, they are coming from Russia. But Russia has been historically more than 50% of 50% of the India's arm imports, they have come from Russia, but that number has come to 36%. Still Russia is the biggest, but it has historically contributed to more than 50% of India's arm imports. So between 1960-64, it was importing less, but since then it has been importing over 50% of imports to India. Now, top three are India, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. Okay. Now, when we talk about the budget, in the interim budget, 6.2 lakh crore rupees were allocated to Defense Ministry. Out of that, 1.72 lakh crore were for new procurement. So, India's arms procurement are further going to increase. So, that is, guys, about it. Moving to next article. Government issues marketing code for pharmaceutical firms. Now, this article will see with respect to GS paper number 3. GS paper number 3, regulation of pharma industry. Regulation of pharma industry. Okay. So, basically, the Department of Pharmaceuticals, it has come out with uniform code for pharmaceutical marketing practice 2024. And this code is to ensure that marketing of pharmaceutical drugs should follow an ethical standard. Now, what has come in this particular standard? Let's see this one by one. Number one, pharmaceutical industry. Now, see this particular thing. Pharmaceutical industries continuously, they are making drugs, they are making medicines, and they need to educate doctors about these new drugs and medicines that have come in the market. Now see this particular thing, doctors, for example, a doctor who is doing practice now for 20 years might not be in contact, might not be in touch with the developments that are happening. So medical representatives, pharmaceutical companies, they send their representatives to doctors to tell them about about new drugs, about new therapies, about new medicines that have come. Now it has been said that this particular engagement is important, but this engagement should be well defined, should be transparent, and should be done on the basis of certain guidelines, should be done on the basis of certain standards. They should not be held on some foreign locations. So actually something what is happening sometimes, some foreign pharmaceutical companies, they go to the doctors and say this particular thing that okay, we give you a foreign trip, let's say to Paris, you just recommend our drugs. Okay, now that basically on the face it will be said that we are training them about a drug or a medicine, or we are making educating them about a drug, but actually that was just a cover. They are taking them to the foreign location so that they can recommend these drugs. So sometimes under this particular garb a lot of bad nexus goes on there. Often what happens, it is seen that MRs, medical representatives, they are giving cash, they are giving gifts to the doctor so that they recommend their medicines. So companies or representatives should not pay cash or any monetary gain to any healthcare professional or to their family members. Also, it has been said that promotion of a drug should be consistent with the terms of its marketing approval. Fine, if you are saying that a drug is safe, you need to show that okay, what parameters you are using to say that it is safe. If you say that it has no side effects, you need to give a detailed study that how it is not having any side effects. So these standards are to be followed. These standards are to be followed. So that is all guys about this particular article. Number of poor people increase in sub-Saharan Africa. Number of poor people increase in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, this article, it is based on the World Bank report. So according to World Bank report, it has been said that poverty around the world is declining, but poverty in sub-Saharan Africa has increased. So basically it is said that see, when we talk about sub-Saharan Africa, in 1990, 278 million people, 278 million people were identified as poor in sub-Saharan Africa. But this number, now has increased to 397 million. So from 279, 397 million it has increased. Other parts of the world it is decreasing. For example, in South Asia, 1.62 billion people were identified as poor in 1990. This number came to 221 million in 2019. So from 1.62 billion to 221, it has come down. But here from 278, it has went to 397. So in sub-Saharan Africa, the poverty is increasing. And when we talk about the reasons, what are the reasons? Reason is conflicts that are going in sub-Saharan Africa. So poverty is increasingly concentrated in fragile and conflict-affected states. Madagascar, Burundi, South Sudan, Central African Republic, Malawi, Mozambique, Democratic Republic of Congo, Zambia, in these particular type of countries. Okay, so and this you can see here through these charts also. Now these particular data can be quoted in your examination, in your mains answers. So that is all guys about this particular session. With this, we come to an end to the today's session. Guys, I hope that you have liked the session. If you have liked, please do support the initiative by engaging with the video and by sharing it with the friends.